SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, the vibe in Minnesota feels different today, I'll be honest. A playmaker on offense is hearing that financial reality talk, and that sets off alarms. The Week 18 slate is out, and it messes with the draft board. This game with Green Bay has a target on it and a message from the defense. There's also noise about changes on the coaching staff. And at the end, the NFL stepped in with discipline on a play that screams 2026. Stay with me. But before I crack open every detail of this breakdown, real quick, let me say this. Subscribe to the channel. It's free, and it helps us more than you think. Hit the like, too, because that pushes the video so YouTube recommends it to more fans. And drop a comment with your take, because this is a shared space and the fan voice matters, period. Pay attention to what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah let slip when he got asked about Jalen Nailor. It came during a conversation with Paul Allen. Short week. Kevin O'Connell was locked in on the plan for the Christmas game, so the general manager stepped up to the microphone. He praised the kid. He talked about explosiveness. He called him a great worker. So far, so good. Then he pulled the conversation straight toward money. He brought up economic realities. He said those talks are for the offseason. When an executive starts talking like that, I can already smell a goodbye in the air, because Nailor isn't a background guy. He earned that wide receiver 3 role. In 2025, he put up 26 catches, 395 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That looks modest on a cold stat sheet, but look at the context. The offense has been up and down. There were games where the quarterback didn't help anybody. And still, when Nailor showed up, it was to hurt defenses. He averaged 15.2 yards per catch. In 2024, it was 14.8. That's vertical juice. That's a real threat. And here's what I love. Most of his catches moved the chains. In 2024, 22 of his 28 receptions went for a first down. In 2025, 21 of 26 did it again. Kwesi even brought up his early days. Special teams, combine speed. There's a reason they call him Speedy. Then came the stretch where he had to get healthy and fight back. That's where Keenan McCardle comes in. That's where being around Justin Jefferson matters. That shapes a player. And Nailor bought in. He didn't complain. He just worked. And when his chance came, he produced. But then the bill shows up. Jefferson is already paid like a star. Hawkinson hits the cap hard. Jordan Addison is going to want his money. Aaron Jones takes up space too. So when the GM says, "We love him here," and then immediately pivots to finances, I hear the translation. We like him, but we might not be able to fit him. To be honest with you, that sounds like the kiss of death for staying in Minneapolis. It stings, because he's a locker room favorite, and he's still 26 years old. On another team, he could easily be a wide receiver too. The NFL doesn't do charity, and if he leaves, Minnesota could even get a compensatory pick. And the team already has a plan B. Rookie Ty Felton is fast. He's long. He's been a specialist. He's learning as a gunner. In other words, the map is laid out. But I keep coming back to this. Who stretches the field when defenses pack the middle? Who punishes a safety who falls asleep? Nailor does that. And when he does it, the stadium comes alive. Talk to me in the comments. Do you keep Nailor no matter what? Or do you accept the exit and move on? Now hold on, because the Green Bay game got the noon kickoff, and that hits the draft directly. Look at how the NFL treats this rivalry sometimes. Vikings and Packers in Week 18. Game at US Bank Stadium. And they stick it at noon. No prime time, no spotlight. But for Minnesota, this is not some whatever game. There's something very real on the line. Draft position. And that changes off-season conversations, roster plans, and even the mood of the fan base in purple and gold. Green Bay is locked into the number 7 seed. They're not fighting for anything in the standings. The only thing that could shift is where they travel on Wild Card Weekend, and even that depends on other teams. So it's very possible they rest key players, and that's where I already see the danger. When the other side shows up light, people start expecting a cruise. Then the game turns into a trap. Rivals don't hand out gifts. Rivals love ruining your Sunday, plain and simple. On our side, the Vikings are riding this win streak. The team can finish 9-8 or fall to 8-9. And the practical difference is where you're picking in the 2026 draft. The math on the table is this. Minnesota could pick anywhere from 13 to 18. If they beat Green Bay and a few results fall their way, they could slide all the way to 18. That's the latest possible pick for a team that misses the playoffs. But if they lose and the right combination of games hits, they could climb up to 13, and that changes everything. For real. So which games matter in this mess? A lot of eyes are on Colts versus Texans and Steelers versus Ravens, because that shakes up the picture too. There's also that shuffle with the Bucs, Cowboys, Lions, and Panthers. Games all over the place at different times. You'll watch the Vikings, and during breaks, you'll be checking scores on your phone. I know that life. I've lived it way too many times, and it is not the fun part of football. The part that gets me is the dilemma. You always want to beat the Packers. Always. Especially at home. Finishing above 500 in a weird season feels like relief. It feels like, okay, we didn't sink. But losing and getting a better pick also tempts a lot of people. And I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. Still, players and coaches don't walk in trying to lose. And if they do, the locker room feels it. The culture feels it. And that costs you later. So this noon kickoff becomes a thermometer for mentality, a thermometer for the message Kevin O'Connell wants to leave with the group, and a thermometer for who deserves snaps when it gets tight. And keep that bridge in mind because the next breakdown goes beyond draft talk. Justin Jefferson is chasing a milestone that matters, and the defense is playing with that good kind of anger. You know what drives me crazy about Vikings-Packers? People call it meaningless, but it's packed with meaning, and it starts with Justin Jefferson. The man has 947 receiving yards. He needs 53 more to hit 1,000. For a receiver of his stature, that matters. It's not vanity. It's a real milestone. If he gets there, he's in a tiny club. And with how weird this season has been, that 1,000 becomes a "I survived it" stamp. But it hasn't been easy. Jefferson has gone through stretches without exploding. There were games where the ball didn't get to him. There were games where protection collapsed. So I can already picture Kevin O'Connell on the headset saying, "We're finding number 18 no matter what." And I want to see it because US Bank Stadium is going to shake if he hits those 53 yards early. I'm already practicing the shout. I'm not even going to lie. Now, if you like clean chaos and a defense sending a message, the name is Brian Flores. What this unit has done these last few weeks has been absurd. The defense became the engine of the team. Pressure, disguises, turnovers, all with the look of a group that believes. And look at who's grown. Andrew Van Ginkel is playing with fire. Dallas Turner is letting it loose. Blake Cashman looks like he has 2 sets of lungs. Byron Murphy Jr. is back to locking the door. And Eric Wilson and Jalen Redmond have been showing up big. And this game could be Flores' last act in Minnesota. His deal is running out. The head coach interview talk is real. The paycheck talk is real. So imagine the energy of that group trying to end the year with one more statement. And this is where you get the no-fluff, stands-level read of how the fan base sees it. There's also a living symbol in this jersey, Harrison Smith. He played like a legend in the last game and he walked out emotional. I don't know if he's coming back. Nobody does. But there's a real chance this is his farewell at home. If it is, I want the stadium to treat the hitman the way he deserves. Because 14 years in purple and gold doesn't get repaid with polite claps. Then there's the other curiosity, J.J. McCarthy. His hand is an issue. O'Connell said it comes down to grip, plain and simple. If the kid plays, it's a showcase. It's the crowd getting a close-up of the future. If he doesn't, it's another chapter of Max Brosmer holding the line. And the game feels different, even with the rivalry still burning. Let me put it clearly. There is no dead game against Green Bay. There are stats, there is legacy, and there are jobs being won for 2026. Tell me what you want to see most on Sunday. Jefferson hitting 1,000, Flores defense wrecking the game, or one more hitman show. And don't go anywhere, because the next Flores storyline outside the locker room is getting hot. Then you look up and see Brian Flores' name buzzing outside Minnesota again. And it's not just the he could be a head coach talk. People are even floating him to Dallas as a defensive coordinator. Yes, a lateral move. And my eyebrow is already up because that doesn't feel normal. The one who threw real fuel on it was Mike Florio from NBC Sports. He put the idea out there that the Cowboys could jump into the mix. The read is simple. Dallas could move on from Matt Eberflus after a bad year. Then Jerry Jones, if he wants, opens the checkbook. And when that checkbook opens, everything changes fast. But let's talk like fans. Why would Flores leave a place where he runs the defense, has respect, and has a fan base in purple and gold fully bought in, just to do the same job somewhere else? I don't buy that easily. Being honest with you, it feels more like market noise than a real plan. But noise becomes a problem when it starts drawing real bidders. And that's where it tightens up. His contract is expiring. Minnesota still hasn't locked in an extension. That's strange. A team that truly thinks it's keeping a guy like this doesn't leave the door open like that. Not after what this defense has become over the last month. Flores built an identity, blitzes with brains, disguises that fool quarterbacks. A unit that plays hungry. There's also the human side. Flores still carries that messy exit from Miami. Then came the lawsuit against the NFL. Then came the controversial interview cycle with the Giants and Broncos. A lot of people around the league remember it. And still, the work in Minnesota is screaming. If he wants the big chair, he has a case. And a lot of places could open up on Black Monday. People have mentioned the Cardinals, Bengals, Browns, Raiders, Giants, Bucks, and Titans as possible spots depending on who gets dropped. And there's a behind-the-scenes detail, too. They've said Trey Brown in Cincinnati has ties to Flores going back to the New England days. Those connections matter. And then Josina Anderson came in with a public pushback. She said he's not going to take just any defensive coordinator title out there. That cools the Dallas talk a bit. Now, what I want to see is the response from the Wilfs and from Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Are they going to keep him with a real contract? Or are they going to play the we tried game and let the defense lose its brain? Because if this unit breaks apart, 2026 starts with a massive hole. And speaking of 2026, hold the next one. There was a nasty play involving Aaron Jones against the Giants. The NFL fined the guy on the other side, and it pulls a heavy question about our running back's future. So let's talk about that play with Aaron Jones against the Giants, because it was one of those moments that makes you boil on your couch. The ball was already dead. The whistle already said it. And still, cornerback Andrew Phillips went in and tried to yank Jones out of the pile, pulling him off the bodies. That's asking for trouble. The NFL saw it, labeled it unnecessary roughness, and hit Phillips with a fine of $7,293 for pulling a player off the pile. No suspension, nothing massive, but it was a message. The point is, that kind of play isn't just ugly, it's dangerous. You've got bodies on top of bodies, a knee stuck, an ankle twisted, a hand trapped. Then someone yanks you. Bad stuff happens fast, and Jones has spent the whole year taking hits and dealing with injuries. When I saw it, I said, not again, because we can't take another veteran difference maker limping off because of somebody else's nonsense. The drive ended with a Will Reichard field goal, and the Vikings won 16-13. Great. A win is a win. But that episode shines a light on a question that's been hanging around the building for a while. What do the Vikings do with Aaron Jones when you look ahead to 2026? Jones signed in free agency and he's under contract through 2026. The problem is the full package. He's on the wrong side of 30. That position is brutal with age, and the injuries hit hard in 2025. He missed 4 full games and he got dinged up in several others. Still, when he's healthy, he gives you vision, cuts, and reliability on third down. But the cap doesn't care about when he's healthy. The cap cares about numbers. And the number that scares people is a cap hit of $14 million in 2026. Then comes the bigger reality. Projections have Minnesota about $35.9 million over the limit when the 2026 calendar turns, if nothing changes. And you already know what that means. The shuffle starts. Cut here, restructure there, push bonuses forward. And every decision hurts somebody. The staff does have a real plan B on the roster, Jordan Mason. He came over in a trade with the 49ers, got an extension, and he's under contract too. He's not the same style as Jones, but he runs hard, breaks tackles, and helps keep the offense honest. He also missed time with injury, so it's not some magic fix, but it is a real option. To close this out, the fine on Phillips was deserved, but the real story is Jones's future. I'm not saying toss an icon. I'm saying 2026 is going to demand cold choices, and those choices will hit everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football every single day. Now take a breath with me, because when you put everything from today together, you can feel that this offseason is going to be heavy in a different way. Take a breath, because what's sitting on the table is pretty clear. The Vikings are closing the season with mixed signals, and that messes with everyone who carries this team in their chest. You've got Jalen Naylor being talked about with that economic reality angle, and that always sounds like a door cracking open. You've got the Green Bay game set for noon like it means nothing, while it absolutely matters for the draft and for the message. You've got Justin Jefferson chasing 1,000 yards, and that's bigger than a number, it's pride. You've got Brian Flores' defense looking like a real unit, while his name is floating around like a commodity, and you've got the ugly Aaron Jones moment that turned into a fine for the opponent, but also turned into a mirror for how hard 2026 is going to be. I'm going to make a statement that might bother some people. Minnesota is closer to becoming a tough, grown-up team than it looks, even with all the chaos. Because what holds up the future isn't just talent, it's identity. And this defense has identity. The problem is keeping the right pieces when the cap squeezes and the league starts trying to lure your staff away. Now, if Kwesi and the Wilfs fumble the Flores situation, we could wake up in August with a void running the defense. If Jefferson doesn't get fed the right way, frustration grows. If Jones is too heavy on the cap, somebody is going to have to swallow a bitter decision. And if Naylor leaves, the speed of the offense changes shape. Look at how much that is all at once. You can't pretend it's small. And that's why I want to hear your voice for real. Drop a comment, because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. What worries you most looking toward 2026? Losing Flores, the cap crunch, or changing the offense? Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go!